Welcome all to my senior talk, Colombian Adaptations to Venezuelan Immigration. The Venezuelan migration crisis origins date back to the 2000s when former President Hugo Chavez started reforming the republic in order to promote 21st century socialism. This political ideology exposes principles such as regional democratic developmentalism, participatory democracy, and economic equality. After Hugo Chávez's mandate came to an end, his predecessor, Nicolás Maduro, continued on with his legacy. Now both of these regimes have evidently represented a burden for Venezuela's socio-economic state, a state that has led the country's immigration rates to surpass any expected rate. Not only has this affected Venezuela, but it has also affected all the receiving countries to which refugees are forced to escape. The biggest receiving country for this population is to be our country, Colombia. Additionally, Colombia has received almost no monetary international aid for the cost. The Venezuelan immigrant crisis has several times been compared to the Syrian immigrant crisis in magnitude and volume. So the question is, what governmental adaptations are needed to ease the effect of the crisis as much as possible in Colombia? Now, to start off, I would like for all of you to pretend that you are President Duque. Let's pretend, for the sake of the exercise, that you hold all the nation's power in your hands. So let me ask you, President Duque, what would you do to handle the rising Venezuelan immigration crisis? So when asked these questions, odds are we will find ourselves with answers lying among two different lines. First off, Pedro will say something along the lines of,
we are all humans, so as a country, we should accept all of them and provide them with full coverage of every service there is.
And then there's Mary, who will say something like,
just kick them all out. How do they expect us to solve their problems if we can't even solve ours? Don't let them steal other Colombians' opportunities. They will be an economic burden for us.
So as you see, group number one, represented by Pedro, is basing their approach from a humanitarian point of view. Meanwhile, group number two, represented by Mary, is basing their approach out of a financial point of view. The problem is that neither Mary nor Pedro are economists. So to say it in the simplest terms, they are both awfully wrong. Luckily for them, they are here today and are able to hear how things should be done from a political and economic point of view. So before we explore how each governmental system adapts, let's recall Mary's answer, as it poses yet another problem for the government to resolve: xenophobia. Xenophobia is defined as the dislike of or prejudice against people from other countries. At the end of the day, xenophobia represents a threat to a person's mental and physical integrity. This is why xenophobia is not children's play. It is an issue that requires immediate government attention. The government is required to apply not only preventive measures, but control measures to punish the infractors that inspire the growth and spread of xenophobic beliefs. In this case, the incorporation and use of media has proven to be the most influential and efficient to diminish xenophobia. In the long run, such steps guarantee that the process of social inclusion is smoother, non-violent, and easier for arriving populations. So now let's look back at Mary's answer. Sorry, Mary, not trying to attack you or anything, but now I need to ask you, if immigrants are a burden to economic development of countries, why are some of the biggest economies home to multiculturalism? The truth is that immigrants bring both positive and negative effects to a country's economy. The pros include the contribution to the economy given by the knowledge and skills that can be exercised in the areas of labor that need reinforcement, as well as the flourishment of economical productivity. Meanwhile, the cons include increased governmental budget per capita and the accelerated consumption of resources. In such ways, if a country is able to study and profile the sectors of the labor market that hold the most vacant positions, those that natives are reluctant to cover, it could integrate its immigrants and use them as working hands. On the other hand, the government must guarantee natives ownership of higher-ranking entrepreneurial activities. Now, many will argue this is discriminating, but in fact it is well fundamented, since locals are projected to impact the national economy for a long-run period, while immigrants are only expected to impact on the short run due to their expected return to their land of origin. Now, according to the Pan American Development Foundation and Ecoanalítica, due to Colombia's panorama, Venezuela should be mainly incorporated into these two sectors: the area of finance and administration with 53% and the area of sales and services with 28%, with a qualitative level of A1 in the professional rating scale and a salary of about 1 to 2 minimum wages. In order to maximize the marginal benefit of the migration, it would be necessary not only to provide employment opportunities, but education services to all Venezuelan minors. In response to this criteria, the government has already enabled access to preschool, basic, and secondary school for all Venezuelan minors. The protocol that the government has established for Venezuelan minors to have an access to education is to complete the selected registration process and count with the necessary legal documentation. However, this time and effort does not go in vain, considering that Colombia is a country ranked by terrorist groups that constantly aim to recruit vulnerable children. Notwithstanding, the National Unit for Disaster Risk Management sets a reminder for all that although education is conceived as a right, the legalization of the minor's status in the country is conceived as a necessary obligation for arriving immigrants. According to the Colombian National Unit for Disaster Risk Management of the Colombian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, to stay in Colombia, you must have one of the following documents: entry and permanence permit, temporary permit of permanence, special permit of permanence, border mobility card, foreigner ID, passport, visa, visitor visa, migrant visa, or resident visa. Notwithstanding the wide range of options, most Venezuelans are still unable to comply with the requirements of acquisition, meaning that they become illegal citizens. In response to this, many authority figures, including Adriana Padilla, Secretary of Government of the Alcaldía of Barranquilla, have pronounced themselves to the government to consider including a transnational approach to consider that migrants are diverse in their trajectories and in their high related needs. On to the next issue: public services, social security, and health services. So considering that Colombia is a third world country where corruption rates are over the roof, politicians lack efficiency, and there is poor allocation of resources, it is no easy task to add yet another group of people in need of assurance. According to Juan Pablo Uribe, Minister of Health, as of today, the government has already ordered the decree to affiliate more than 700,000 Venezuelans who are in the country to the health system, all of which must possess a special permit of residence and who will mostly enter the subsidized system, since they are incapable of maintaining a contributed health policy. The main purpose of this massive affiliation is to reduce the cost the government has to assume per each individual that is not affiliated to the health system. As my TED Talk is coming to an end, let me just summarize it real quick for you. Venezuelan immigration crisis has exceeded any estimation of volume and time. The crisis is worse every day, even now with the appearance of the COVID-19, and receiving countries such as Colombia are receiving close to no aid from international community. Sectors being addressed are the social sector for the elimination of xenophobic discrimination, the inclusion into the labor market in an attempt to guarantee that the marginal cost per capita is outplayed by the marginal benefit of labor productivity, a guided governmental process to ensure that the highest number of Venezuelan minors are guaranteed an education in an attempt to prevent any future illicit criminal activity, and lastly, the provision of public goods, services, health services, and social security. As we see in this slide, the marginal benefit of migration must exceed the marginal cost of migration in order for immigration to be both humanitarian and economically favoring. So I hope this talk helped you understand a little bit more about this complicated topic. Here comes the end. Thank you very much. I enjoyed it very much.